Good day, learners. Welcome to Health Optimizing Physical Education 4. I'm Teacher Shen, and I help and guide you understand more the topics in this subject. Are you guys ready to learn? Join me as you listen attentively, explore, and enjoy learning. Welcome once again to Health Optimizing Physical Education 4. We're on week 5, lesson 5. And before we finally start this lesson, let's have a review on lesson 4. Let's have picture analysis. We just have to identify and analyze the given pictures to come up with a word related to our previous topic. Now look at these pictures. What word do we have? If your answer is camping, then you got it right. How about these 5 pictures combined? What word can you think of? If your answer is physiological, you are correct. Next, pictures. What word do we have? If your answer is heart rate, good work. Now let's have these 2 pictures combined. What word can you think of? If your answer is pacing, then yes, that's the right answer. Now let us have the last pictures. What word is it? If your answer is exertion, nice work. Good job, students, if you were able to understand the lesson about camping and the physiological indicators associated in moderate to vigorous activity. Now let us move on to the next activity entitled Connect the Dots. You just have to connect the dot that represents a specific image with the activity that they are related to. And these activities include camping and snorkeling. Let us start with the activity camping. What image is related to this activity? If you're thinking about a tent, then you are correct. How about snorkeling? What image is used with this activity? If your answer are goggles, then you got it right. Now let's go back with the word camping. Can you think of another image related with this? If your answer is flashlight, then you got it correct. What is another image that represents snorkeling? If you're thinking about snorkel, then that is definitely right. Again, what word or image is related with camping? You only have 2 choices left. And if your answer is backpack, then that is correct. And the last image left is the swim fins for snorkeling. This time, I want you to complete the following open-ended statements. Number 1, camping and snorkeling are both. Sample answers might be they are both recreational activities and they are particularly outdoor recreational activities. How about number 2? Camping is different from snorkeling because they are different from the equipment used and the skills needed in engaging to this activity. If you can think of other answers, you may write it down on your notebook or on your answer sheet. Now let's try to have another activity, word cloud. Now you just have to select at least 5 words or terminologies from the word cloud and use it to create a sentence or sentences that describe snorkeling. Now here is our word cloud. Can you think of the 5 words? You might have an idea from our previous task. Now, if your answer is goggles, that is correct. This is an equipment used for snorkeling. You may also add the word snorkel or fins. These are also equipment that is used in the activity snorkeling. Can you guess other words that describe snorkeling? If you consider breathing and also swimming, then you are on the right track. Breathing and swimming are associated with the activity snorkeling. Now let us learn more about this activity. Week 5 is outdoor recreational activities, snorkeling. Now please bear in mind our most essential learning competency. It observes personal safety protocol to avoid dehydration, overexertion, hypothermia, and hyperthermia during the MVPA participation. MVPA stands for moderate to vigorous physical activity. And to specifically achieve this competency, let us have the following objectives. First is discuss the nature and background of snorkeling. Next is recognize the importance of outdoor activities safety protocol. And last, determine the basic prevention treatment for specific conditions during MVPA participation. Now let's get started to learn more about snorkeling. What is snorkeling? The term snorkeling comes from the word snorkel, a J-shaped breathing tube, and defined as swimming underwater or just near the surface with a full-face snorkel mask or with snorkel and a diving mask. Snorkel or snorkeling is one of the best but simple way to see, discover, and appreciate underwater life. It will allow you not only to experience the beauty of marine life, but also swim with them. It is not only used for recreational purpose, but it also helps the overall fitness of a person's. Since you're going to swim, you can have some flutter kick that will actually work out your body parts like your quadriceps, your calves, your ankles, your hip flexors, even your shoulders and core muscles. This time, let us find out the basic equipment in snorkeling. First is the snorkel. This is a device used for breathing air from above the surface when the wearer's head is facing downwards in the water with the mouth and the face submerged. Now this is basically composed of a tube called barrel and a mouthpiece. And this equipment makes it possible for an individual to breathe at the surface while the face is submerged. Next is the diving mask. It is also called swimming goggles. This is an equipment that allows underwater divers to see clearly underwater. Meaning to say, this equipment is a viewing device. Okay, so without the mask, everything viewed underwater is unclear. The airspace created in the mask helps an individual see clearly underwater. And the next one is the swim fins. It is also called snorkeling fins or diving fins. These are fin-like accessories worn on the feet, legs, or hand to aid movement through the water. When it comes to the swim fins or diving fins, these are obviously wider and have a larger surface area than your feet. Whereas you encounter more water, the more it produces resistance. So this would actually help a snorkeler or a diver to move throughout the water. This time, let us know the different benefits of snorkeling. What can you gain from engaging to this activity? So let's find out. The first one is snorkeling is a stress reliever, meaning to say it will helps an individual to relieve stress and anxiety. So this can be a type of an exercise as well, a physical activities that wherein it can release endorphins that will make you feel better. It may also increase your self confidence. But snorkeling, it takes a mental health benefits even farther. For example, um, the controlled mouth breathing required of snorkelers is also similar to many of the meditative breathing techniques that will help you relax and calm your body. So, snorkeling can regularly help an individual to feel more calm and at peace through simple relaxation. Next one is the cardiovascular benefits, meaning to say it is good for your heart. This kind of activity can also help you attain cardiovascular fitness. For example, as you snorkel, your heart rate increases, meaning your heart pumps harder and grows stronger. Remember, if you have an improved cardiovascular fitness, it will help you decrease the risk of certain health problems like coronary heart disease, heart failure, high cholesterol, and also high blood pressure. Meaning to say, snorkeling will help you build greater lung capacity when you are forced to hold your breath underwater for a long period of time. And lastly, snorkeling can relieve pain and aches. So, what is the meaning of this? Snorkeling has an added benefit of providing healthy exercise to those people with joint pains or stiffness. For example, the gentle racking motion of the water, it would create a perfect balance between the resistance and to comfort your stiff joints and muscles. So for snorkeling, it will require constant moving that will allow your muscles to move in a wide range. And the constant movement of your muscles and the water flow, this will help quickly loosen stiff muscles and joints. Now, this time we are going to learn the important things that you have to remember or some reminders when you engage to snorkeling. I want you to remember the word snorkel. First is to stay close to shore, especially if you're a beginner. You might misjudge your capacity and endurance as a beginner before knowing you are already tired or exhausted. So at first, make sure that, or it's better that you have to stay close on the shore. Next is never do it alone. Well, you have to make sure that you have a buddy or a friend so that in case of emergency or whatever negative things that might happen, someone is there to help. Another one is one up and one down. One is on the surface and one is underwater. This is still in case of emergency. So if the snorkeler has a problem, one can help or one can seek help. Next is rain check. So you just have to check the weather forecast and the condition of the sea. Since the wind can cause waves, the wind can cause waves. Well, in that case, it will eventually make your snorkeling a challenging activity. Another one is know your surroundings, meaning to say one should know the area. For example, the tides, because marine life may be known to be aggressive, so it is also essential to know conservation rules. Another one is energy retention. This is one way not to overestimate your limits. Some people they might use some flotation device like a vest, so it would help them conserve their energy. And the last one is leave them alone, meaning to say do not touch the marine life because it might destroy their habitat or you might hurt them. In the same way, the marine life may be aggressive. with that, they might stung you, or you might get hurt for touching them. So better that you have to maintain a safe distance, and don't make such movements that will startle them. At this juncture, we are now going to study bodily conditions that may occur during moderate to vigorous activity. The first one is dehydration. Now, when we talk about dehydration, it is an abnormally depletion of body fluids. It happens when the body loses a greater amount of water than the amount being taken in. Meaning to say, our body, but our body is composed of 60% water, and our body can lose water through breathing, sweating, or even urinating. So if you do not take enough fluids, then you'll become dehydrated. Now, what could be the symptoms of dehydration? So we have there the feeling of thirst. You can also feel headache. You can feel the dry mouth, some dry cough. Another is dark colored pea urine. Now you just have to remember, if your urine is light colored like lemonade, meaning to say you are hydrated. But if it is dark colored like an apple juice, that means that you are already dehydrated. And the last one is you can feel some tiredness or fatigue. To prevent this, well, definitely you just have to drink water throughout the day, including at meals. And then you have to eat foods that are higher in water. So, for example, fruits and vegetables. Next one is avoid soda, alcohol, and caffeinated drinks. With that, it's also better that you have to check your urine. Now, what could be the first aid treatment if the person is already dehydrated? Well, definitely you have to increase the water intake. You can also loosen tight clothing and remove unnecessary clothing. And in case of extreme heat or dehydration, better to replace some electrolytes. So, what is the meaning of electrolytes? These are essential minerals that is found on your blood, your sweat, and urine that carries an electric charge. Meaning to say again, electrolytes are minerals in the blood, for example, such as we have the sodium and then the potassium, and this will help your body regulate fluid levels. Such electrolytes can be present with citrus fruits such as lemons and limes. So they consist of electrolytes. Some examples of drinks that contains electrolytes. So you have their Gatorade, but you can also make your homemade electrolyted drink. All you need is water, juice like lemon juice, orange juice, some a salt, and you may add honey if you want. So, for example, 1 and 1/2 cups of water, then add 1/2 lemon juice. You can add, and then also add 1/8 to 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and then you can add 2 teaspoon honey. So that is an example of an electrolyted drink, a homemade one. Next one is the overexertion. Now, it occurs when you let your body, or when you let yourself when you push yourself beyond your physical limits, and often results in pain, inflammation, or other injuries. Meaning to say, in this kind of bodily condition, you push yourself too hard, and that would involve physical or mental effort that is already beyond your current abilities. Overexertion may lead to or caused by repetitive movement. Also, there is an incorrect way of doing a task, like for example, improper lifting of objects, or because of a sudden or an abrupt, forceful movement, and also a prolonged activity. Now, what could be the signs and symptoms of this? So first is pain and also overuse injury. Overuse, this is caused by a repetitive strain injury that develops slowly over time. Now, such preventions are, yeah, you can have a warm up activity. Warm up is very important before doing a strenuous activity, so that it can reduce muscle soreness, and also it can lessen the risk of injury. Aside from that, you can take breaks every 30 minutes. As I mentioned also earlier, you have to lift heavy objects properly. So you lift it with your legs, not your back. And the last one, provide at least 1 day of rest. Okay, include rest in a certain week during your fitness activity or fitness routine. Now, this time, let's have here the first aid treatment. So first is to stop the activity and rest. So it's better to take some rest if you're already experiencing overexertion. Next one is use ice or heat compress for muscle and joint soreness or stiffness of joints. So one is the at first, for example, you apply ice, and then after 3 days you can apply the heat compress or the hot compress. Another bodily condition is we have the hyperthermia. It is an alarming rise in body temperature, which is an effect of exercising in a very humid environment. Hyperthermia is caused by the inability of your body to regulate its temperature over a high environmental heat. Now, what could be the symptoms of this bodily condition? You might be experiencing muscle cramps, profuse sweating, weak pulse, moist or cold skin, dizziness, shallow breathing. And because of the high body temperature, you can experience flushed skin, or you might be experience an altered mental state or behavior. Hyperthermia can be classified into different stages. So we have there the heat cramps. It is considered an early sign of heat illness and dehydration. Typically, an individual complains of cramping on a specific muscles. Next is exhaustion. It is more of a serious heat illness compared with heat cramps, and this is caused by an excessive loss of body fluids due to prolonged sweating. And the last one is heat stroke. It is considered a medical catastrophe requiring immediate medical attention. And to prevent this hyperthermia, it is better that there would be a limit, or better avoid activities in the heat of the day where there is direct sunlight, keeping you cool as it protects your skin from the sun's harmful rays. Another one is use sunscreen. Um, Another is wear cotton next to skin. It would also help to rehydrate yourself by drinking lots of water. Or you may also take a cool shower bath. Now let's talk about the first aid treatment, specifically for heat cramps. Better that you have to move the patient or the individual to a cooler area out of the direct sunlight. Next is gently massage the cramping muscle, and you have to stretch the muscles gently. And also, it's better that you rehydrate the victim. How about the first aid treatment for heat exhaustion? So still, you let the person rest in cool places, avoid in the direct sunlight, drink fluids. You can also have this cooling measures. When you say cooling measures, you may use of the fan, ice pack. You provide ice pack around the neck, the groin, or in Filipino that's the singit, and also you can also loosen clothing of the victim or the patient. And lastly, for the first aid treatment for heat stroke, well, if you are still waiting for a medical response, you just have to get the victim out of the sun and place him into the coolest possible location. You might also apply ice packs to the patient's armpits, to the groin, neck, or back. And lastly, loosen tight clothing and elevate the feet. And also, you can use cooling measures like fans. It can be electric or handheld fans. And the last bodily condition is the hypothermia. It is the condition of having an abnormally low body temperature and is caused by cold or wet or weather or wet weather, which cools the body at a rate faster than the body can produce heat. So hypothermia, it's a prolonged exposure to very cold temperatures. When one is exposed to cold temperature, your body begins to lose heat faster than it produces heat. Lengthy exposures will eventually use up, and your body stored energy will lead to lower your body temperature. Such signs and symptoms are dizziness, nausea, difficulty speaking, slurred speech, and also weak pulse. And to be able to prevent this, it's better that you check the weather conditions in advance so that you might prepare yourself if you can actually sustain a very cold weather. Next is layering clothing to trap multiple layers of air. You might add clothes and also jackets, or you might use, for example, you might also use mittens or gloves or even headgears to sustain your heat temperature or maintain your normal body temperature. And the last is the first aid treatment. So if someone is already experiencing hypothermia, then you just have to definitely move the person to a warm or a dry place. Then you have to remove this wet clothing. You can also insulate them using a blanket. You might provide some skin-to-skin contact, for example, the back to back, or you can rub your hands and then put your hand on his head or his body to provide heat. And lastly, if the victim is conscious, you might provide him with warm drinks. So those are the first aid treatment, the prevention, and the signs and symptoms of the different bodily conditions. Now let's have the activity My Safety Tips. Now I want you to list down the things that you have to know, you have to do before, during, and after engaging in a snorkeling activity. So in this case, you have there the before, during, and after. Now these are just sample answers that you have to bear in mind. For example, with the gear, the location, and even the weather and your body condition. So these are just sample answers. You can answer this, or you can explain more of this in a sentence. Okay. So for before, you have the right gear. You have to choose the location, check weather condition and body condition. For your or during the snorkeling activity, it's better, or you have to bear in mind that you should have a snorkel buddy. You never touch marine life, and you also have to stay hydrated. And for after the activity, you might hydrate yourself, you rest, or for some, if you want to get some light massage. And the next activity in your learner's activity sheet, you have there the mind questions. Now you just have to read the questions on this next slide and explain your answers on your answer sheet. Now here are the sample questions. How snorkeling can help improve one's social, mental, and emotional health. With your answer sheet and your pen, you might include how can you how can you describe a certain individual to improve one's socialization, how it encourage concentration and awareness, and how can it enhance your mental health or your mood. So this can basically help you answer this question. Next, why is it important to know the safety protocol when engaging in a outdoor recreational activity? Now, in this case, you might answer this question by what are the things that you have to consider, or the things that you should know about the safety protocols, so that you could explain the reduce of risk, or if not reduce the risk, eliminate those bodily conditions that might happen during this outdoor recreational activities, such as dehydration, overexertion, hypothermia, and hyperthermia. So those are some simple reminders on how you can answer these mind questions. All right. And for the what I can do task, it's entitled What's Wrong? So you just have to analyze the given scenario and answer the processing questions. Now, this will be the scenario. Let me read to you the scenario. Friday night, Juan and his friends plan to go to the beach the next day. On their way to the location, they decided to have snorkeling activity. They arrive at the beachfront around 6 o'clock in the morning. They notice that the rain is pouring and the wind is blowing heavily. They did not make a reservation for a cottage nor bring a tent to use. They look for a tree that serves as their temporary shelter while waiting for the rain to stop. A few hours later, the rain still pouring and the wind picks up further, and Juan starts shivering. His friends thought adrift as they try to figure out why it's so cold, though Juan wears a cotton t-shirt under his long sleeve shirt. One of his friends decided to call for help to immediately treat his condition. When the medical personnel arrived, they were informed that Juan is experiencing hypothermia. So these are the processing questions that you have to answer. So if you are Juan, what are the things you haven't considered before going to the beach? You might write. You may take note of your answer. For example, you can explain. Will you consider the checking of weather condition, the physical readiness, okay, before you engage to an outdoor activity? And then, if you are Juan's friends, what are you going to do to manage this situation while waiting for a medical personnel to arrive? Okay. So in this case, what are the things that you have to do? So what are the first aid treatment that you can apply since Juan is already experiencing hypothermia? So I hope you're able to answer this on your answer sheet, and then you can just submit it to your teacher. All right? Okay, so I hope you were able to grasp the day's lesson, and also I want you to have a reflection regarding snorkeling, and also the different signs, symptoms, and prevention, or first and even first aid treatment to such bodily conditions during a moderate to vigorous physical activity. So you can start with I realize that, and then you can just explain what you have learned for today's lesson. All right, and that will be all for today. Hope you're able to value and have fun while remaining to be physically active. So I hope you always remember that be tougher than your excuses, dare to be fit. Till next time, learners, thank you and God bless.